what this meeting's about, what we'll be doing here, and who our special guest is for this week. So the idea for this is there's so much going out right now for zkSync that we want an opportunity to bring the community together to look at the week that has happened and everything that's gone on so that you guys can get all caught up, and an opportunity for us also to reach out as a team and connect with the community. We have a lot more people joining our team, and we want to make sure that we have that cohesiveness between the zkSync team and our community. So today we have our special guest, Steve Newcomb. He's our Chief Product Officer. And right after this, we're going to do a little intro for him and then allow you guys to ask some questions. And then we'll go through and we'll start looking at the announcements that happened on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then kind of open it up at the end there if we have some extra time. So that's a brief overview of what we got here. So without further ado, why don't we go ahead and get started. Steve, why don't you introduce yourself to the zkSync community?
Sure. Hey guys, I'm the Chief Product Officer. I'm the one that's always staring at my calendar, noticing it's October 7th, and we have 21 days until Mainnet launch. We just finished Mainnet and SmartCon at Blockchain Week in New York City last week, and I'm fresh off giving, I think it was 4 keynotes. We did one workshop. Spent some time on Bankless talking about L2 and L3, and did the same on the Block podcast as well. Super excited to be here. I love talking live to everybody and love getting questions from our community. So couldn't be more excited to be doing this for the first time.
Amazing. And so just a really quick thing, we are recording this, so when you ask questions or whatnot, we'll have that recorded, and that way that anybody who wasn't able to join, because we are global, can check in and see what we talked about later. So like Steve said, he did an amazing recording with Bankless. If you haven't listened to that, I highly advise you to look at that. It's a huge overview of like what's coming up, and it's really cool to see. But I think for today, we want to do just allow you guys to ask any questions of Steve, whether it is about the L3 stuff or it is about Steve personally, whatever you'd like. But you should be able to have the option to raise your hand to request to speak. And so we'll let Steve just do like an intro of his background and what he's doing here, and then where he wants to go, and then we'll open it up for questions for about 5 minutes or so.
Cool. So yeah, my journey to coming here to Matter Labs, I decided early on, maybe 17 years old or something like that I really like to get involved in, try to do like technology, anything where technology is going to affect as many people as possible, hopefully billions. And I really cut my teeth in my first startup that I founded, and we got to be the team, the Skunkworks team that saw the first email across the chasm on a Nokia phone. It was an amazing experience as a young man. And of course, Nokia bought us like immediately. And I got to do my second company. I got to work at the Stanford Research Institute. And we worked on technology that we called distributed voice recognition, which was the underpinning technology behind most voice recognition. Today we call that Siri and Alexa and Google Voice, but that's where it all began at SRI. While at SRI, I met a bunch of friends at NASA and Xerox PARC, and we kept applying for that tour of Xerox PARC, the famous one that Bill Gates did and Steve Jobs did that formed Microsoft and Apple. And we finally got it, and we saw this technology there that did natural language processing on text and voice. And we decided to create a search engine that could use NLP technologies to do an NLP index. Long story short, we built a search engine, sold it to Microsoft. That is now known as Microsoft Bing. While we were at Microsoft, we also we're trying to manage our Git repos, or it wasn't Git repos back then. We actually used this product called SVN that we hated deeply. And two of the guys on the team, Tom and Chris, hated it so bad they asked if they could leave the company to pursue creating a better way of storing code. And of course, I'm talking about Tom Preston Warner and Chris Wanstroth that created GitHub. So that was exciting to be sort of a little tag team partner on all of that. After that, for reasons I don't understand after the fact, I tried to create a 3D physics engine in JavaScript so that we could do After Effects in a browser. Kind of did work, kind of didn't work, but in the process of that, really got to be involved in 2 open source projects. I funded the creation of Node.js and got to sit on the board for a little bit. And Node.js is one of the biggest open source projects in the world, I think. And then I funded and sat on the board of directors of jQuery, which I think is still the largest open source project in the world. And before joining Matter, I took about a year and a half to study the space and understand it. I partnered with Andreessen Horowitz, Lightspeed Ventures, Sequoia a little bit, 3 VCs in Silicon Valley to help me get smart, got to meet and understand and talk to people from Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche, Polkadot, Cosmos on the layer 1 space, got to meet all the founders at Arbitrum. I know the founders of Optimism, Starkware, Matter, Scroll, Polygon. And long story short, I chose Matter. I think it has the magic ingredients for me. It has the right ethos, which is number 1 always for me. And then from a tech perspective, and you guys know this, we are going to have a generalized zk rollup here in 21 days. It is going to be EVM compatible, so it's going to be easy to port. It will support Solidity, which is super important because that's what most people use, but the magical property of our LLVM compiler is that it will also support any other language. So that's like an underreported awesomeness that I don't think people quite realize how awesome that's going to be. We will be open source. I described how we will be on Bankless. Happy to answer lots of questions about that. And I cannot talk about the T word because I'm standing in the United States right now. So that's the only topic I wish I could share more about, but I am in California. It is 6:30 in the morning. And I'll try to remember that I can't talk about that, but I am a little bit fuzzy because I've been up since like 4 o'clock this morning working. But that's the only area I can't talk about. But other than that, I love transparency. I'm an open book. You guys can ask me anything at all that you want. And a lot of times when I do these things, I don't know why, but the first question seems to always be, when was the last time you cried? And the answer is last night, because I cry every night because I'm so worried. But I really would be happy to answer any question that you guys have. Love to be part of this community.
Cool. It looks like we've got at least one hand raised at the moment. We'll let a few line up. Really quick before we do that, though, I just wanted to touch base about, you said we got 21 days until Mainnet rollout. Or until Mainnet. You had mentioned this on the Bankless podcast, but I just want to make sure we make this clear for our users. Can you explain to us what does that Mainnet look like for both developers and users who are part of the zkSync community?
Yep. So, like when you do testnet and mainnet road mapping, we're trying to create a way where we become like the gold standard of how to do it the most secure way possible. So we're not gonna, we call it YOLOing on the mainnet. We're not just gonna launch on mainnet and be like everybody like party. It's much more careful than that. So when we launch on mainnet, we will be the only users. It's gonna be, from a marketing standpoint, a bit of a slow clap moment. But the reason we're doing that is we got to be on actual real mainnet to really begin security testing everything. So we're going to be doing a whole bunch of things, and we can't really say what they are because if we did, it wouldn't be as effective as what we're going to be doing when we do it. But we're going to be functionally kicking the tires really hard to make sure everything's working, and it is primarily revolving around security. Once that's done, we think that'll take a month or two. Then y'all can begin porting your apps or building your apps. And the only restriction we have is we won't let you have users yet. So, and then we go through the same cycle. Everybody's building their apps. We're going to be on Discord, like working with everybody to make sure everything's working correctly. And again, security, security, security. And then when we feel like that is going well, we're going to do a fair release where we release the gates all at once, let all the users in all at once. And it theoretically could be the largest, single gated launch in the history of anything in L2 space, like by a mile. And that day is going to be probably the night before I'll pass out several times. But that's the day when everything is like live, we're fully in production, and it's full go. And so think maybe 2 months of it's just launch, and then we're kicking the tires. It's hard to say how many months we'll be in that stage when everybody's building their apps before we lift the gates. But it could be as early as the very end of this year, but it's definitely like early next year territory, unless we come across something that makes us decide to wait. So we always want to be very honest about that. If we see anything that's like gives us the warbles, we're gonna be having security first. And I mentioned this on Bankless. Our head of security is the person who tells us when we can launch, not the marketing department here. And we really are trying to create sort of not a standard, but just like when people look at how we do this, they want to replicate it because it's the safe way of doing things. And we avoid those situations where in the past there's been some situations where people kind of YOLO'd onto mainnet. It was a bit dangerous for the whole trust in the ecosystem, so we don't want to do that.
Oh, perfect. Yes, I just wanted to make sure that was clarified, and 100% we want to make sure that, like we've said before, we don't like overhyping things, and we want to make sure that we deliver on the promises that we put forward. We're always making sure that everything is secure and ready for our users before we just, like Steve said, YOLO into it. So thank you again, Steve. It looks like we've got at least one question for you, so I'm inviting up Third Eye. So Third Eye, you should have some sort of little button that says speak or something on there. You can jump in. If you don't want to request to speak, there's also a thread or a forum in the random channel. It says zkSync Weekly Rollup. Please post the long title. Thank you to to Harufio for putting that together. So if you want to throw any questions in there, we can grab it from there. And Third Eye, just still waiting to see if you want to jump on stage. And I guess while we're waiting there, I just did it. Oh, Cisco, you have something to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the meantime, we can also ask a question that was in the forum. Steve, there is a user asking if there is any information about ZK Porter. What is ZK Porter, and when should the users expect ZK Porter compared to zkSync 2.0 mainnet, alpha mainnet?
So ZK Porter will be part of our L3 offering, and so up in L3 is going to be a recursive ZK Rollup, ZK Porter, and then a pure Validium. The entire documentation around L3, we have been basically working to release a paper a la the same way that Vitalik does when he writes a big technical paper. And we are going to write two things. One will be, I won't call it a white paper, but just a detailed technical paper on how it's all going to work. What are the use cases of it? When you want to use it? What is going to be your optionality in it? And that will be very much an a la Vitalik Buterin article. And we are having that written, and we're having it reviewed by many of the leaders within the Ethereum Foundation community and many other people that work with us to make sure that these things are written well and written accurately. Secondarily, we have in rough draft format about a 40-page FAQ on the whole thing. That has gone through first draft, and in the first draft there's about 10 authors in there. So it's not it's now being handed over to a copy editor to make sure that it's written in a way that flows well and is easy to digest. So be on the lookout for both the detailed technical paper. I believe that will be penned under Alex's name. Alex will be the primary author of that. It may be me, but I think it'll either be Alex or me. And then the FAQ will come out as well. I don't have a time for that yet. We don't ever give out a date unless we're in the realm of 95% sure of a date. But it is something that we are actively working on. And that FAQ has been the bane of my existence now for like 3 months. So we're trying to make sure it's really well written for you guys.
Amazing. We will make sure to share with you all guys the FAQ the moment it's published.
Yep.
Perfect. I just invited Third Eye jumped on the stage for a second and then left. Mr. Varma, I invited you up if you want to come on up. I do see a question in our chat that asks, does zkSync have plans on privacy L3?
Yeah, so in L3, whether you choose the option of having your fractal hyperchain be a ZK rollup, a Porter, or Validium, you will have the option to make that fractal hyperchain private if it is a Validium. We don't know how privacy exactly works yet in a Porter. And ZK rollups to this point will always be public.
Nice. Thank you. And then why don't we go ahead and allow Mr. Varma, you can go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, great to meet you.
Yep, awesome. First of all, Newcomb, that's an awesome speech, man. Like, I actually read about your previous work experience and all. Like, I'm flattered, man. Like, I'm really great to see you in zkSync team because I'm a big fan of zkSync technology. My question is like, how Snark technology is different from Stark, and like, what's the competition look like for the zkSync technology?
Yeah, so
and Steve, if you want, you could just do like a high level. We have some links to articles that explain differences between Snarks and Starks that we can post in and tag you in it.
We share those out to everybody.
Actually, my question is my question is like, yeah, I do know the difference. I'm like, for example, the rollups, like, wait, I forgot.
Optimistic, or are you talking about just?
Yeah, exactly, the optimistic rollups and zk rollups and all, right? So I do know the differences between and how advanced the zkSync technologies and the future of Ethereum is. But I want to know, in the zkSync itself, there are two types of technologies like Stark and Snark. So what does the competition look like? I'm asking in this technology type.
Yeah, so like, first, some props to Starkware for really making some advances in the field there. And, we're always looking how to advance our technology. And I would say that in terms of Snarks versus Starks, will we be like following the path of Starkware or not in that realm? And I think there's going to be times when it's important to say this, like I don't know. We're talking about that. That's something that we actively talk about. But I really just don't have a firm answer for you on that. That's something that the engineering team is looking at, potentially saying, hey, what are all of our other folks doing in this space? And it's really Starkware that has kind of done some interesting things that we take a look at. But we need to make sure that everything we do doesn't compromise any of the other decisions we've made prior. And that's a tricky topic. So I'm sorry, I don't have the best answer there for you now. That's something that's under research.
Yeah, but I definitely understand, Newcomb. Thanks for answering. I do have another question. May I ask?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's for Bexpana, like, uh, it's about internships and internship opportunities and job opportunities. Can I ask now or like is it later? Is it fine to ask now?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any internship opportunities for like people like me, right? I actually asked Bexpana once, like, I want to join if people want to join the zkSync team, right? With very less experience like me. I do have experience in business development and, the Web3, like around 2 years both. So, comparatively, it's nothing, but so, I just want to work with such a great team called zkSync, right? So if there is any internship opportunity, I might be eligible. So I just want to ask that.
Yeah, just in general, like at every one of the companies I've built, we've always had an internship program. And the key to a successful internship program is having somebody that's in charge of that internship program that is making sure that it's successful and that it's well designed, it's well integrated into the groups. And right now, like we were 40 people 4 months ago, and now we're 80 people. So right now, if an intern came in here, it would be a little bit mayhemic for that intern because there is no like head of the internship program yet hired. But that's something that as we get mature and as we grow up, we will most definitely have an internship program and an internship program leader, but it will have to be interns working in areas where it makes sense for interns to be. For example, it would be incredibly unlikely that in our cryptographic math team that we would have interns. It would be generally unlikely that we would have interns in the protocol team. It may be likely that in the ecosystem team, in marketing, in the product team, that there could be internships available. But
Non-technical.
non-technical folks. And maybe the tools team. There could be like some full stack development on tools types of stuff where we could have young engineers participate with us, especially also in things like building more tutorials. That's a big open area that's an opportunity. If any engineer is interested in building tutorials, that may be one of the earlier areas that we begin partnering with engineers in the ecosystem. And that's just because education is such an important part of what we are doing. And then additionally, we are getting ready to, we put a little thing out there a while ago for a brief period of time, said how many people would like to be an advocate and get involved that way. Very similar to an internship program in some ways. And we needed to get a leader of the advocacy program to be able to run that correctly. And we now have that job position open. We are actively interviewing, and in fact, we have some candidates that are in the final stages. So that may be coming sooner than an internship program, and that's very good news for all of us because then we can open up our advocacy program wide open. And then we make sure that we have training materials going to those folks, train the trainer types of stuff. And if those advocates want to get involved in helping build tutorials and things like that, now we will have a place where they can have a point of contact inside of the company to work with that has a plan, has a strategy, and can take care of everybody that wants to be an advocate.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm looking forward to those opportunities.
Awesome. Great. We look forward to having you there, Mr. Varma. Thank you very much for your questions. We are running a little bit on time, but we have at least two more speakers that have been very patient. Jay Powell will be up next, and then Eric Cool, and then Steve, we'll let you get back to your day, and we'll finish up our roll up here. So we have Jay Powell. There we go, Jay Powell, and you are ready to go.
All right. Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Great. All right. Thanks for hosting this. And Steve, just wanted to say I listened to your appearance on Bankless and The Scoop, and I really enjoyed it. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
So real quick, Steve, you mentioned a few times in the podcast and today about kicking the proverbial tires after zkSync 2.0 is launched. Just wondering if you could tell us a bit about if you happen to know what types of tires you may be kicking more specifically, and then at what point will the zkSync team have enough assurances to move from, say, baby alpha mainnet to the next stage, or whatever the nomenclature is at that point?
Yep. So it used to be common that people would go into mainnet without any security audits. It then became that some people did some very minor audits with some junior auditing companies. And then every once in a while, somebody does like a very, very top tier 1 audit. And just so that you guys know, if you do a security audit from a tier 1 security auditor, that costs well over $1 million to do that. It takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months to do it as well. It's a lot of work to do a security audit, and you're testing the prover, the sequencer, witness generation, everything when you do that. So doing one tier 1 security audit is considered super tier 1, super conservative. We are doing 2 tier 1 security audits as we go through this. And we are actively actually now working with both of those companies that we've selected to issue a full report and explanation on exactly what we're doing in that security audit so everybody can see just how detailed that effort was. So that's something that we're working with them right now. But what we want to do is get through the security audits and have the full data so that we can talk about that and have that data and discussion be something that we can share in the public. So very, very good question. We really, really, really want to set the gold standard for what we're doing for security. I don't know if you guys saw the hack that happened this morning. We've got to get rid of that sort of stuff and not have that anymore. And we are taking just an insanely safe route, and we want to work with those 2 security companies to sort of showcase all the work that we've done in the space. We can't showcase it, though, until we're functionally done key pieces of it, because we don't want to claim we're going to do something. We only want to talk about what we have done so that it remains factual and everybody can know that this actually has factually been done.
Good to hear. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Cool.
Of course. Thank you, JPal. Eric Cool, you're up next.
Is my voice clear?
Yep.
I want to ask a question about zk Porter. Is it going to launch soon? And what about the transaction per second? Is it going to be significant, exponential, like maybe 50,000 transactions per second or even beyond? And how is the plan for mass adoption for zkSync? People know Ethereum layer 1 is expensive. How to make sure the adoption for zkSync so that people from Ethereum user can connect to zkSync as a Ethereum rollup, so it's like for zkSync to be like more aware for that. Maybe you guys could respond to that.
Yeah. So
I just put the link for zk Porter general stuff, so you can do again like that high level. Then Eric Cool can look at that article too.
Sweet. So transactions per second is a common topic. In layer 3, this is the way to think through it. If you choose a zk rollup that recurses inside of itself as your fractal structure, that'll be the slowest and most expensive, but also most secure, because you will inherit the security of Ethereum all the way up into layer 3 if you choose that route. That's where DeFi is going to want to live, something like that type of a project. In terms of what you should expect for TPS in a zk rollup in layer 3, it'll be the lowest TPS. And in terms of cost, you should think about breaking cost up in your head to the cost of execution plus the cost of data is how you get to the total cost. data cost, as you get further and further away from your base layer of Ethereum, so as you recurse up into layer 3, into more and more fractal hyperchains, you gain more and more advantages in data costs. Thus, data costs will go dramatically down, almost to say to the point of de minimis. Execution costs will remain much more constant and not go down as much. So cost is a complex question, but that's how you would characterize it. Validiums are where you split the data. Some of it goes to Ethereum, some of it goes to off-chain, and Validiums are where all the data goes to off-chain. Validiums will be the fastest. That's where you're going to get 100,000 TPS, 1 million TPS, but you're going to be giving up a little bit of security because you're going to be having your data off-chain, and that will have to be secured with validators that won't be as mature, nor can they be as decentralized as Ethereum can. Therefore, that security will be a compromise. So you're either getting way, way, way more TPS with a Validium with a little bit less security, or you can be full security over on the rollup side. When we get this thing fully matured on layer 3, I'm trying to be conservative, 1,000 to 10,000 TPS on a full zk rollup, depending on how EIP 4844 rolls out. And then think 100,000 to millions to limitless on a Validium. And that's the way it'll kind of play out as we go. And then we will make 10x advancements, over the years that bump it all up. But that's how the spectrum of TPS will work in layer 3. In terms of how are we going to get everybody to adopt zkSync? We're more like, how are we handling the fire hose of all the projects wanting to port? So we're getting all these projects from L1 that want to port off of L1 to us, all these projects that are on Optimistic that are saying, nope, I want to get on the ZK bus. We're getting a lot of projects that are coming over from Starkware that it's a developer that doesn't like Cairo, or maybe doesn't like the fact that Starkware doesn't have open source policies, or they don't like their tokenomics. We are getting everybody and their brother wanting to port over. So I think with the combination of Vitalik Buterin's comments and support of us and support of ZK rollups, and then the news, we're going to have a lot of news coming out that is going to be basically giving everybody the idea of just how much the demand is going to be for what we're doing. We're much more worried about how to handle all the load than we are. We're not doing any outbound business development. We're handling all inbound ecosystem management to try to work with everybody, make sure we serve everybody well. Is that a good answer, Eric?
That's a really, really good answer. It's really give me a great insight from you guys. But and then I have actually one final question. So the Ethereum post-merge, we can stake the Ethereum in Lidos and some to be a validator. But in the future, zkSync will have a governance token, and if the zkSync have a governance token, can we become a validator too as well? So we can secure the network for zkSync and earn yield maybe?
I won't be able to comment on anything to do with the token because I'm standing in the United States.
Okay. But is it possible to be a validator maybe, or in zkSync, or is it going to be?
So when we launch a mainnet, yes. When we launch a mainnet, as one should, we are fully centralized to make sure everything's working. And then over time, we are decentralizing the prover and the sequencer. And then there will be able to be validators as that part of that, securing that network and making sure it gets decentralized over time. And that also extends up into L3. So what I can say is up in L3, we can secure the sequencers and validators, or if you have your own fractal hyperchain, you can secure the sequencer and prover with your own token. which is going to be a very valuable feature up in layer 3 so that you can have your own token and you don't need to rely on us to do the securing if you want.
And then we also have the answer to this question in our FAQ that you can look through there. There's the questions about running a validator or running a node in that section.
Oh, I see.
And some big news, I touched on the bankless thing, but it actually is much bigger news than I gave it time, is that a lot of people think we are running the prover on a very specialized piece of hardware that we custom built. That was true in the olden days. One big announcement we have is now we are now running on regular GPUs, which is going to open up the validators for a lot of people.
I see. Okay. Already get it. 13 seconds. Okay. So far, I'm satisfied with your answer.
Great.
And hope for the best for the team.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, perfect. Well then, thank you again, everybody, for joining in for our guest speaker time. Thank you, Steve, for joining us on our guest speaker time. You are more than welcome to hang out, Steve, if you want. Otherwise, we will continue on with our roll-up and just doing some catch-up for things from the week.
Sweet. Thanks for having me on. Love talking to everybody here. So I'm on the Discord. So really glad to be here and can't wait to get on Mainnet and see everybody start building stuff on zkSync. It's going to be a magical time. Thanks so much, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. Welcome, everybody. All right. So we are going to continue on. Sisyphos, we wanted to just briefly do a recap on SmartCon and our time there and everything. So you want to pick up from there?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, BXPana. As some of you might know, last week we were all in New York for SmartCon. SmartCon is a conference that is organized by Chainlinks. And that was just amazing to have the opportunity to meet the community, to meet the Chainlink community more specifically, and also the Chainlinks team. We had the opportunity also to meet some community members. I'm not sure if Perennial is in that talk, but it was great also to meet him in person. So what did we do at SmartCon? We started with a workshop. This workshop was given by Anthony Rose, our head of engineering. And there during that workshop, we briefly touched on the history of zkSync, of the challenges that we had to build zkSync. And we also talked a little bit the devs how they can easily deploy their smart contracts on the platform. Apart from that, BXPana and myself and other members from the marketing team, we were all standing at the booth and welcoming and answering questions from anyone at the Chainlinks conference. Again, I believe that here Zeke, our mascot, was a big success, and people really enjoyed it. And some of them that were lucky could get a sweater with Zeke. We also had the opportunity to share a few words with other communities, such as Arbitrum or Avalanche, and we went also to discuss with the Chainlink team and meet the community managers at Chainlinks. Again, a great opportunity to meet community members in person, and we're looking forward to seeing more people in incoming events. Our next presence is going to be at ETH Lisbon. And here again, if you're around during the hackathon and you want to come to us, have any questions and want to talk to us, please do not hesitate to just ask us anything. It's always great to meet community people in person. I think now, after this small SmartCon recap, we're going to touch on the few announcements that we had during the week. And here, BXPana, I'm going to hand over back to you.
Cool. So yeah, we had just wanted to go over a few community announcements. If you aren't already following the Discord changes channel or have the Discord changes role, that's where we'll post when we do some Discord changes. That way, when you come back here, you're not like, what is this channel or what is happening here? And so we are trying to experiment with the Discord forum feature. to kind of organize things a little bit better. So you'll notice our FAQ channel, our random channel, and soon to be our support channel are going to be using the forum system in Discord. Allows you to set a post with a certain title and then it's kind of like a thread feature, but I think it just makes it a little bit more clean than a typical reading channel or regular channel. So with the random, feel free to write up any topic, choose a tag, start conversations just like we did with the zkSync Weekly Rollup channel today. I think it's a great idea for getting people to talk about different things. And some examples of things that we've seen in random are like movies and TV shows. There's a new GIFs only channel where you just respond to each other and try to talk to each other using GIFs, which is a lot of fun. So if you ever need a break from the crypto world, it's a great place to start. I think that's about it, mainly for our Discord announcements. Anything else you're supposed to be missing for the Discord announcements? That's mostly it.
No, I think that's mostly it. Yeah, please have fun with the random channel. It's always fun to see what everyone is up to. And the GIF, we all know that BXPlan is the GIF lord, and it's always great to have this vibe going on in the GIF channel.
I just search and find the cool things. But anyways, so that's our community announcements there. Let's talk about all the stuff that's going out each week. We're putting a lot of stuff out on Twitter, and the main reason for doing this is we don't want to really flood you guys with everything that's happening on Twitter and then just reposting it on Discord. So we're trying to find our way to be able to disseminate this information to you all without drowning you in information. So this week, I just wanted to cover our Join the Mission. It was Join the Mission 8. This is a tweet that we post every Monday that covers a few of the projects that are building in our ecosystem. And so this week we had Ramp, which is, if you don't know, on and off ramp. They cover over 150 countries, and they accept a wide range of payments. Actually, they have credit cards, debit cards, bank transfers, Apple Pay, and Google Pay, and apparently others coming soon. So that's one way to on and off ramp for fiat. I know that Argent gives an easy way to access Ramp. But their deals that they're going to be working are building on zkSync 2.0 to allow that on and off ramp. Automata 1 RPC. It's a free private RPC built for Web3. So if you don't know what an RPC is, it stands for Remote Procedure Call, and that's what allows dApps to communicate with the blockchain and tell it different things. And so with this free private RPC, what they're basically going for is that the metadata that is communicated via RPC is no longer observed or collected by any party, and that it helps help identify and block requests from fraudulent websites. And then also it's a public good because it's free. So it's something cool to check out if you're interested. We also had Bob G, which they are a management service that management services system to support global expansion of projects building on the zkSync ecosystem, and as well for Japanese corporations. So if you're in Japan, check out Bob G. We have InSuite, which is an NFT management software system for businesses. Basically kind of like a quick, I want to launch an NFT, and I'm able to use InSuite. And then HomeSpace, which is a really interesting like an NFT modern metaverse. We've seen a lot of metaverse focusing on that like pixelated world, where this one is much more like photorealistic is what they call it. And they plan to launch on 2.0 as soon as Mainnet is launched. And then so that is our Join the Mission number 8. This is an opportunity to expand a little bit on these projects and recap them. But now we'll move on to our March to Mainnet.
Amazing. Thanks. Most of you are aware that on Tuesdays on Twitter we post always an update about the advancement on the protocol, on the testnet. And last Tuesday we posted for our March to Mainnet post an announcement about the next Regenesis that is coming next week. It's not the first one, but as a reminder, Regenesis reset the transaction history and the token balances. So for users that have test tokens on testnet, it's your opportunity to withdraw them on yearly, as if you don't want them to be reset. And for developers, it's a reminder that you should redeploy the contract and update your dependencies just after the regenesis. But what is the next regenesis about? We have a few upgrades on the virtual machine. We're gonna mainly change the interface, like changing the account abstraction interface, the L1 layer 1 to layer 2 communication interface. We also, as I said, gonna upgrade the virtual machine, and all of these require the regenesis. So please do not forget, next Monday there is a regenesis. By then, withdraw your test token, and after that, for developers, you will have to redeploy your contract and update your dependencies and the packages.
Yeah, and mainly with the
Mhm.
mainly with the withdrawal process too, is typically when we say like withdraw your tokens, we're mainly talking about the test ETH that's on there. I think most of us seen how hard it is to get girly ETH. And so when regenesis happens, then if you have test ETH on zkSync, then it gets wiped. So basically, you don't really need to get all the other tokens because they'll just be available once regenesis is over. But that test ETH is typically where it's like, oh yeah, I want to get that off before regenesis, and then I can put it back on after regenesis.
And also, just I do not forget, the regenesis does not affect zkSync 1.0. So if you have funds on zkSync 1.0, absolutely no worries. It will continue to work and to function as usual. The regenesis only affects zkSync 2.0 testnet.
Yep, exactly.
So I think on Monday we will tweet about it when that happens. And that was it for our March to Mainnet. I'm going to pass over to BXPana to cover the ecosystem article of that week.
Yes, so on Wednesdays we have an ecosystem article where we do a little more deep dive with one of our ecosystem projects that are building on zkSync 2.0 to kind of showcase, let them talk about why they're building on zkSync. So this week was Okx, and it was pretty interesting. Okx Wallet is going to be launching on zkSync 2.0 mainnet. And it seems like they have an option in their wallet to switch between wallet mode and exchange mode, so you can still get access to what you have if you have the funds on your Okx exchange. And then they are also featuring integration with their Okx NFT marketplace. So it looks like we're starting to see like this own ecosystem within Okx, kind of like Coinbase, how they have an NFT marketplace, their wallet, their exchange. So really cool to see, and great to have them building on zkSync. And then the last portion that we have here,
it's about our 1000 True Devs loop that we have also occurring on Twitter. Again, once a week we try to highlight any projects or ask feedback to developers in order to build to provide a world-class developer experience on zkSync. So to that end, we always seek feedback and try to publish new tools. Last week we published our new Block Explorer. I think you all have had the opportunity to test it. It comes up with a fresh new UX, the ability to verify smart contracts and to debug them. So it's really something that our team has been working on for a long time, and I really encourage you to go have a look at our new Block Explorer to test it. And please, if you have any new suggestions to improve it, or you found a bug, please do not hesitate to report it in our channel. We have the suggestion forum active in Discord, and you can also just go to our general feedback channel.
Amazing.
Now, I guess, yep.
Yeah, I think that's so. Really, guys, like we are open to feedback with this process. This is something that we just knew that the community really wanted. So if you like this process, you prefer having the speaker at a different time, rather not go over this stuff, like whatever you guys think, feel free to join that zkSync Weekly Rollup 1 thread or post in the random forum, and then leave any comments, feedback, whatever. We're happy to make any changes along this journey with you all. So we just want to thank you all for